So when we're thinking about what causes coronary heart disease, it's all to do with blockages in the arteries that are going and taking blood to your heart tissue, right? Because your heart tissue needs to be 24 hours a day, all the time. So your artery, if you remember, it's got a reasonably narrow lumen, so a narrow space for the blood to go in. So the blood is travelling at a relatively high pressure. So, first thing to be thinking about then. So inside of the artery, the blood is flowing at high pressure. Right? So the blood flows at high pressure, and that's because we've got lots of blood cells and we've got pressure that's generated by the heart. So we've got blood cells and such forth. So they're all travelling through at high pressure. Right, blood also contains cholesterol. Right, cholesterol is, you could think about it as being a little bit like fat. Cholesterol doesn't go and just travel around by itself though. Right, cholesterol is carried around, so if that's his cholesterol, it's carried around by a protein called a lipoprotein. Right? So if you think that fats, the proper name for a fat is called a lipid, so lipoprotein goes and carries around cholesterol. Right? If you get too much cholesterol in your diet, or there's various other risk factors, if you smoke, if you drink too much, if you're overweight, if you have diabetes, for instance, these can all lead to excess cholesterol going and building up in your arteries, right, or in your coronary artery specifically. And the cholesterol, it goes and it sticks, so it starts to stick to the outside, so that inner wall of your artery, right? And it starts to build up, right? When it's building up, the proper name for it is a plaque, right? It's called a cholesterol plaque. So it's almost like you think about plaque building up on your teeth. A cholesterol plaque is where plaque is building up in the artery. So eventually, more and more of this cholesterol goes and builds up, and the more cholesterol that builds up, the narrower that space is for the same amount of blood to go and pass through, right? Which starts to right, well, for a start, it would cause high blood pressure because there's a smaller space. High blood pressure is also something that can lead to heart attacks and such forth. So, the plaque goes and narrows the space for the blood to flow through, therefore artificially increasing blood pressure. So, like we've just said, as the space decreases, the blood pressure increases. Right? The next problem is that if you've got high blood pressure, I can't really show it on this model, but high blood pressure can go and lead to the coating or lead to the physical artery getting damaged. If you think about blowing into a balloon or blowing into a hose, when the pressure gets too much, it'll go pop and it'll rupture, and you might get it rupturing. If there's rupture in it, well, the blood's not going to go through the artery, the blood's going to go and spurt out. Right, so that's one problem that's caused by the blood pressure. Right, the other problem, or the bigger problem next, is that as this plaque builds up, so as it gets bigger, the blood cells start to go and stick to it. So you're going to go and get more and more blood cells sticking to this plaque. As the blood cells stick to it, they'll form a blood clot, because you'll go and you'll get other proteins and such forth that go and bind them together. That blood clot will go and lead to a blockage in the artery, right? So the plaque will go, blood cells stick to it, that causes a blood clot, which causes blockage. Right, then an entire host of issues start. If there's a blockage, then the blood can't get through. Right, remember, blood is carrying oxygen. Right, oxygen is needed for respiration. If no blood can get through, no oxygen can get to the heart muscle. If no oxygen can get to the heart muscle, that stops respiration in that heart muscle, and then that can lead to that heart muscle dying. When heart muscle dies, finally, it causes a heart attack. So that is a very, very brief summary that goes through and looks how cholesterol buildup inside of an artery can go and lead to coronary heart disease and can go and lead to a heart attack.